In East Africa, whether diplomacy is walking on eggshells or not is a question of debate. Kenya's President William Ruto has just congratulated Tanzania's Samia Suluhu Hassan for her landslide re-election, a victory marred by blood, censorship and chaos. And while State House Nairobi calls it a message of peace, critics call it something else. Complicity dressed in courtesy. Because this wasn't just a message, it was a statement of where Kenya stands when democracy burns next door. The statement landed early Monday morning, November 3rd, short, polished and diplomatic. Quote, congratulatory statement by His Excellency Honorable William Samoei Ruto, PhD CGH, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces following the general election in the United Republic of Tanzania, November 3rd, 2025. On behalf of the government and the people of Republic of Kenya and my own behalf, I extend sincere congratulations to Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan on her re-election in the general election held on 29th October 2025. Kenya and Tanzania share deep historical ties and common aspirations for the prosperity and stability of our peoples, anchored in our shared history and our joint membership in the East African community. I call upon the patriotic people of Tanzania to uphold peace and the rule of law, and I encourage all political actors and stakeholders to embrace dialogue and tolerance as they seek to resolve any issues at hand in order to safeguard democracy and stability. Kenya stands ready to continue engaging constructively in the pursuit of our shared vision for a peaceful, prosperous and integrated East Africa. End of quote. On paper, it was classic diplomacy, but timing is everything, and Ruto's silence before this message was deafening. For 3 days, as images of chaos and alleged killings spread from Dar es Salaam to Arusha, Nairobi stayed quiet. No condemnation, no concern, just watching. Then the congratulations arrived, precisely when Tanzania's government needed external validation the most. Let's talk numbers. The Tanzanian National Electoral Commission declared Samia Suluhu the winner with 97.66% of the vote, nearly 32 million ballots cast out of 37.6 million registered voters, a turnout of 87%. That's almost Soviet-level efficiency. But look closer. Opposition candidates like Tundu Lissu and Mpina never stood a chance. Bad, disqualified or facing legal charges. By the time Tanzanians went to the polls, it wasn't an election. It was an endorsement ceremony for the ruling party, CCM, which has held power uninterrupted since independence in 1961. In Zanzibar, the pattern repeated. CCM's Hussein Mwinyi claimed 80% of the vote. Democracy in Tanzania, once fragile, now feels like theater, perfectly staged, tightly controlled.
And I hereby declare Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan as having been elected President of the United Republic of Tanzania through the Chama cha Mapinduzi CCM party.
Tundu Lissu, once the face of Tanzania's opposition, called it massive fraud, but his words struggled to travel. Social media was throttled, journalists detained, and footage deleted by security forces. For many Tanzanians, even speaking the truth had become an act of rebellion. The election, self-funded for the first time in Tanzania's history, was paraded as proof of national maturity. But the irony is bitter. When a democracy funds its own suppression, that's not maturity, it is capture. Then came the protests. From Dar es Salaam to Mwanza, Arusha to Mbeya, crowds poured out, waving flags, shouting haki haki or justice justice. Police fired tear gas, the army rolled in and the internet went dark. Casualties remain disputed. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch estimate hundreds dead. Opposition sources claim over thousands killed. And when Tanzanian protesters stormed the Namanga border, spilling briefly into Kenya, touching posters of Suluhu, the crisis stopped being purely Tanzanian. It became regional.
I think the point is anything that is outside the law on the Kenyan side, we definitely will do what the law allows us to do. And also just to take the opportunity to appeal to anyone not to take the law into their hands and just do what is expected. Our officers are competent enough to deal with any situations. If there will be any inconveniences in terms of movement of cargo and people, I believe that the officers at our points of entry and exit must be able to advise those who are moving in a manner that then we don't endanger anyone's life or the businesses that people undertake.
On Monday, the Tanzania police force issued a public alert warning that foreign nationals have been entering the country through unofficial routes with the intent to commit crimes, including acts of violence and unrest. In a statement released on Sunday from police headquarters in Dodoma, the force said it had received credible reports of non-citizens disguising themselves as workers engaged in various occupations, such as border riders, while secretly plotting illegal activities. According to the statement, the individuals have been sighted in several regions including Arusha, Dar es Salaam, Mbeya, Mwanza, Songwe and other parts of the country. Police went ahead to urge citizens to remain vigilant and report any unfamiliar individuals or suspicious movements to local authorities.
Kuna kikundi cha watu baada ya kuona wameshindwa kuvuruga amani ya nchi yetu, wameunda kikundi cha vijana ambao wanaandaa picha mjongeo na taarifa mbalimbali za matukio yaliyotokea siku za nyuma ambayo yalishashughulikiwa na mengine ya kutunga ili yasambaze kwenye mitandao ya kijamii yaonekane yametokea kipindi hiki au muda mfupi uliopita. Watu hao wanajifanya kuwa wanafanya shughuli mbalimbali ikiwepo bodaboda. Taarifa zinasema watu hao wapo katika mikoa ya Arusha, Dar es Salaam, Mbeya, Mwanza, Songwe na mikoa mingineyo.
The warning came amid heightened political sensitivity and security concerns across several regions following last week's disputed polls. Protests erupted across several regions following Wednesday's vote, with witnesses reporting violent confrontations between demonstrators and police. So on Monday morning when Ruto finally spoke, the world listened closely. As chair of the East African community, he said, Kenya urges peace, tolerance and dialogue, but that line dialogue carried layers. But here's the twist. Ruto's choice may not have been about ethics, it was about economics. Kenya's Central Corridor trade route runs through Tanzania. The port of Dar es Salaam handles billions in regional cargo. Stability, not justice, pays the bills. President William Ruto has made a habit of walking this tightrope. During his own contested 2022 election, he asked the world to respect Kenya's institutions, no matter the noise. Now he's offering Suluhu the same courtesy. But in diplomacy, courtesy can sound a lot like complicity when the other side's hands are stained. His message also shields Kenya from cross-border instability. Tanzania's unrest threatens border trade, refugee flows and investor confidence, all problems Nairobi cannot afford heading into 2027. Look across East Africa. Burundi's Ndayishimiye and Somalia's Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud rushed to congratulate Suluhu, but Museveni and Kagame are still silent. It's not forgetfulness, it's calculation. Neither wants to endorse a fraudulent election while managing their own democratic credibility crises. Even the African Union struck a cautious tone, congratulating Tanzania but expressing regret over protest deaths in diplomatic language. That's a quiet rebuke. The East African community now faces a question it can't dodge. If one member descends into repression, does the bloc stay silent for the sake of unity or speak up for democracy? Ruto's message may seem small, just a paragraph on official letterhead, but it reveals a truth about the region's leadership. East Africa is increasingly prioritizing stability over freedom of the people, and history has shown that when you trade justice for order, you end up losing both. Tanzanians right now are counting bodies while leaders count votes, congratulating a fraudulent election. And Kenya, with its democratic contradictions, stands at a moral crossroads between regional diplomacy and historical responsibility. Ruto's congratulations may buy short-term peace, but it risks selling out East Africa's democratic soul. The question now isn't whether Samia Suluhu stays in power. She already has. It's whether East Africa still believes in the power of the people. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for our next deep dive where diplomacy meets reality. Newsroom, Maisha TV, Bushabi Jr.